Simo-Kinzer, followed by Deborah Richards. And as Ms. Simo-Kinzer comes to the front, I just want to mention something. And I think staff are watching on TV, so and the clerk is here. But there's been much discussion about concerns regarding what data is available and how it's protected. So the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act is well-established federal law, and what the Education Committee is going to do, we will post to our website a link to that federal law so that you can see the very strong federal protections that make it so that if there is data that relates to your child who is in anywhere in public school from pre-K through grade 16, actually, if they're in college, no one but the family or the direct educator can get their data unless it's anonymized. In other words, it is impossible for someone to find out what your child is doing unless you wish it. So that is something that is going to be posted to our website, and that should be done within the next day or two, and you will be able to look at it and review it for yourself. With that, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Marie Simo-Kinzer. I come from Plymouth, Connecticut. I am a parent of 3 children, twin 9-year-olds and an 11-year-old, who go to Plymouth Central School. I'm urging you to vote in support of 5078 in addition to HB 5331. I'm actually going to switch around my testimony. I'm going to address the statement that was just made about the FERPA law. The actual reality is a large piece of Common Core that's been brushed under the rug are the changes to FERPA that happened in 2011 by the U.S. Department of Education. Changes that now allow student information to be given to third parties without student or parental permission. Changes that will leave parents uninformed as to how their children's records are shared and to whom they're shared with. One of the key changes significantly broadens the definition of personally identifiable information to include student's ID number, social security number, and/or biometric records, which include fingerprints, retina and iris patterns, voice print, DNA sequence, etc. Information that alone and in combination with others provide an automated recognition of a specific student. There's also been talk about the 400 data points that have the potential to be collected and put into a longitudinal database, including students' date of birth, religious affiliation. I also heard that dismissed earlier. However, one of the statements of receiving the Race to the Top funds ties it to there being a state longitudinal database. I can get you the documentation, that's not a problem. In addition to the changes to the FERPA, although I think it's easy enough to find on the internet. Additionally, I want to support that each child doesn't learn in the same way and shouldn't be expected to reach their full potential by being taught via cookie cutter and untried and untested method. A method that strictly focuses on the use of assessments and has no proven track record. All children are not created equal and should have their strengths and weaknesses taken into consideration when being taught. Allow teachers to do what they're trained to do. Teach the students using all the wonderful methods that they have available to them. Teachers should not have their evaluations taken into account with the student's assessment and test scores. I can state with total honesty that if my teachers in elementary, middle, and high school had their evaluations based on my test scores, they would have all lost their jobs. Is it a reflection on them that I'm a poor test taker? Absolutely not. Is it indicative that my teachers didn't know how to teach? Nope. Is it a reflection that I'm an unintelligent woman? I can guarantee you that's not the case. I'm a poor test taker, that's all. So again, is it fair to rate teachers on what is out of their control? My answer is no. In closing, I'm going to ask you all to vote yes to the above bill so that the State Department of Education will be forced to stop the implementation of Common Core, listen to the concerns of parents, students, and teachers about it, and ultimately put it back to a vote to rescind the approval for the curriculum in Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you. So questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative Julia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lisa, I just wanted to thank you for bringing up the point about data. It is of concern to many, many parents. It's also of concern to teachers in my conversations with them. As you were speaking, I took your advice and went on the website about FERPA, and Absolutely correct. There was a loosening by
Thank
the
you.
U.S. Department of Education. In
Thank
fact, there is a lawsuit currently
By
pending
Epic.
against the United States Department of Education for a breach of student privacy in the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. That's very important.
Yes, it is.
And you have stated this correctly. It has come up a few times in this hearing today, and as a point of record, it is clear that third parties under the loosening of FERPA, which was sanctioned by the United States Department of Education, does allow for a third party to view sensitive information. And I have to tell you, in my practice, a lot of my background has to do with test construction. So how to norm tests is a complex enough process. But typically, when we create samples and standardized samples of student data, we can do that on date of birth and gender. And typically, when we have educational instruments, or in my case, psychological instruments, that's how it's done. This is rather an unprecedented expansion of data collection. So I just wanted, to your point, I just wanted to add that clarification, because as we post something on the website for the Education Committee, I want that to be inclusive. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just to be clear, when we post federal law, we won't post something from 10 years ago. We will post the most up-to-date version of the federal law, so don't worry about that. Other questions from members of the committee? If not, thank you for your patience and your testimony.
Thank you.